Hey, this is Aaron.
And this is Kristin.
And this is the Drive Mode Show.
Yeah. Aaron,
Today we're going to talk about Jeeps.
Let's talk about Jeeps. I like it.
Because we hate Jeeps. We never talk about Jeep, do we? Ever.
Never. No, I have a Jeep Gladiator Mojave coming tomorrow, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it.
Nice. Specifically, though, we want to talk about the concept that Jeep put out yesterday. So by the time you see this, I don't know, a couple days, that is, they have a name for it. It's the 392, but I just like to call it the Jeep SRT because it is basically a Jeep Wrangler with the Durango SRT stuff in it.
Yes. Which SRT stands for Street and Racing Technology. So to me, that's pretty exciting. That's the combination of the best of both worlds. Off-road capabilities, street-ready capability, and a V8 engine, which Jeep hasn't put in one of their Jeeps since 1981. So I think there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be interested in this concept.
And the V8 that they had back in 81 in that CJ, that was a goat engine, so it was all torque. Had almost no horsepower. It was like 150 horsepower.
Yeah, it's like 125.
Had lots of torque. That's what it was made for. And this one is both, because you get the best of both worlds when you throw a turbo on an engine.
Yes, so 450 horsepower, 450 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in less than 4 seconds. Sign me up.
Now, my question: how do you get a Wrangler Rubicon to go 0 to 60 that fast without sliding right off the road? Because those are big, beefy tires, a giant suspension, and this is 2 inches taller than a standard Rubicon.
Right.
So it's even taller. So I'm wondering, how do you make that happen? I think Jeep put that number on there because there's a lot of Dodge influence in the build here.
Right.
This is very much a Dodge Jeep with the SRT stuff going under the hood, and the exhaust system, also a big deal. But so I think that number comes courtesy of Dodge. I don't think anybody at Jeep was thinking about 0 to 60 times. What they were thinking about is getting 450 pound-feet of torque to the wheels in how many RPM, right? So it's pretty low RPM because it is turbo. Right.
Well, they may have been thinking, okay, the Jeep is great. The Jeep has been around for how many decades now? Mm-hmm. And what's the next step? What's the next option for Jeep? What could make it appeal to a different segment of people that might not have considered a Jeep before? Maybe they want it off-road, but they're more interested in power. So now they have all the power.
So
more power.
Rule. So Jeep has started to cover the gambit with the Wrangler. They have the Wrangler with the little 4-cylinder, I think it's a 4-cylinder turbo that's in the Sahara. Then they have the V6 that's been there for 100 years. That's a long running engine. The Pentastar, and then they have now the V8, plus they have a plug-in, plus they have, diesel.
And the diesel.
The diesel has the distinction of being the loudest vehicle I've ever parked in my driveway.
Really?
I've had Vipers, not Vipers. Okay, I've had Hellcats. I've had Mustang GTs. I've had all those big throaty things.
Power wagon.
And yet, that Jeep diesel was by far the loudest.
That surprises me. I wouldn't have thought that.
Even the F-Type with its loud pipe button and all of that wasn't as loud as this.
So the neighbors may not like that choice.
Maybe not, but I will say that the Jeep diesel, in my mind, is the best indication of what to expect from a V8-powered Jeep, because it's lots of torque, and off-road it was amazingly awesome because torque is where it's at when you're digging around in the mud and trying to climb rocks.
There's your headline. Amazingly awesome.
That's the first two letters of my name.
Wow, you're right.
Just saying.
Good one.
So this is a concept, right?
Right.
But what do we think about this concept?
I think I'd like to drive it. I am curious to know how Jeep enthusiasts are going to feel about it because I don't know. I have a friend here in Indiana, where I am right now. A friend that I grew up with has a yellow Jeep that she loves. She does not take it off-roading ever. She likes the convertible feel of it. She can take the doors off and the roof and just ride it wide open. You know, so there's that market, there's the off-road enthusiasts, and now there's the power enthusiasts. So it's going to be interesting to see.
But here's something else interesting to think about. When you go to events like the Jeep Safari in Moab, when you go there, when you look online, I like to look online all the time and dream about the Jeeps I want to buy. And you look at the used market, you look at the older vehicles that are being sold and resold out there. A V8 power plant conversion is pretty common. I've seen a lot of them that have Chevy V8s in them. So they'll take a V8 crate engine from Chevy and they'll stick it in there, as well as a lot of diesels. Those are the two most common upfits. So I could totally see why Jeep would capitalize on that because there's a demand for it. People want the power. And the one thing I know about this, it's listed as a concept. They're calling it a concept. It's the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392 concept. I think that's the official title for it. They're calling it a concept, but this is a very, very, very production-ready looking concept. I think Jeep was thinking about the timing here. I think the timing for announcement was what really decided for Jeep, what are we going to do with this?
I think so too. And Ford has been very clear that the Bronco is coming after Jeep, and coming after the Wrangler specifically. And so they had to think of something. And I'm sure this was already in the works. You know, it's been the whole Bronco launch has been in the works for a long time, and so has this.
So the Bronco has been teased for months. So we've known about it for a long time. And this isn't the sort of thing that you throw together in a weekend.
No.
This Jeep concept, they've put a lot of time into this. It's got its own hood. It's got a lot of specialty gear underneath it.
Right.
The framing is different, a lot to handle the twist of that extra torque, all that stuff.
Modifying engine mounts, yes, and different axles. I mean, everything's different.
So what I think is the timing is more about Jeep wanted to release this in order to steal a little bit of thunder from the Bronco release, because the big news with the Bronco is it's going to be big and beefy and muscular. They didn't have an 8-cylinder engine, but they do have basically F-150 stuff in it, which the Jeep has been missing. The Jeep has not had any sort of trucky things in it. No big engines, no big frame, any of that, right? I like that word.
Trucky.
I use it a lot. Trucky with a Y, not an EE, because we're not in California.
Right.
So anyway, and I think that Jeep is waiting on the timing. You know, the Bronco is a big deal. It overwhelmed last night and this morning's everything.
Holy moly. Yes, the hype is huge.
It's everywhere.
Huge.
And I think Jeep wanted to, one, undercut a little bit of that by announcing this, but didn't want to kill themselves by fully announcing production and everything else for it. Because, face it, the Bronco is a bigger story. And this would not have competed with that. So I expect sometime in the next month or so, maybe this summer, maybe later this year, they're going to fully unveil this. So I really expect to see this go to production.
And here's what I see from buyers as well. I see people like to buy the same type of vehicle over and over. Or maybe it's what their parents drove, or it's something that they've had before. I think I see this a lot. You know, my parents are huge GM fans, right? So they buy They tend to buy GM cars. People who buy Jeeps may not have their heads turned by the Bronco. They may or may not. So this helps bolster their existing base and say, hey, we have your Jeep and more.
And it draws a new crowd because you can get, so you think about it, you have somebody like mutual friend Patrick Rawl. This guy daily drives a Challenger Hellcat. That's his daily driver in Michigan.
So fun.
Right? Rain, shine, snow, whatever, he doesn't care. He drives that. So you think about a guy like that, and then he gets into a standard Jeep. So he gets into a Jeep, maybe it's a Sahara, maybe it's a Rubicon, one of those models, and it has this standard V6. And Jeep, to be really frank, no Wrangler has ever felt fast. Every Wrangler is slow. Every Wrangler is lugging. That's what they do. So a guy like that, he gets out of his muscle car and he gets into this, into a V6 powered Wrangler. He is going to be bored out of his mind because it's not going to be in a hurry. It doesn't make cool noises. It floats all over the place because it's this huge, thick off-road suspension. So it bounces around like a 1960s Buick. So it's totally different from what he's used to. But if he gets into that with a giant V8, 450 horsepower, tons of torque, and a much more solid build, because they literally did change the framing on it. If he gets into that, he is going to be much happier with it, as that's his weekend machine. That's what he goes to the lake with, or that's what he, tows the little kick boat or whatever else he's got, and he goes up and does stuff. He's going to be a lot happier in that than he would be in a standard V6. There's a market for those people. Truck drivers, same difference.
For sure. And I think that buyers like the options within the family, right? So Jeep is using existing technology that they have in their family, and they're adding it as an option for Jeep buyers. So not everybody wants 450 horsepower, 450 pounds of torque, but some do. So they'll have that in their portfolio to offer.
Swinging it around, in my mind, the biggest reason, but one of the reasons that the Ford F-150 is the best-selling vehicle by far is because you can get an F-150 in, I don't even know what the number is. It's like 100 different configurations. You've got something like, what are they up to now? Like 5 powertrains for that. They've got a multitude of cab, bed, interior, accoutrement, whatever. They've got a huge number of options for that truck. One person's F-150 can be almost completely different from the next person's. And that's a huge deal. So there you go. That's all we know. There isn't a whole lot of information yet. But this Jeep is, it's V8 powered. It's the 6.4 liter. So this exact same engine that is in the Challenger and I believe the Charger in the Scat Pack and other models. It's also the engine that's in the Durango SRT. And the drivetrain in this with the 10-speed and everything else, that is right out of that Durango. And the power difference is only about 15 horsepower different. Between this and the Durango. So huge deal, and hopefully it's going to production. It almost seems like it is. And then in other news, really quick, right there, that empty spot on my shelf, I got the Lamborghini I'm building to go there.
Super fun.
To add to the Lego Speed collection.
That's a great collection. It makes a good backdrop too.
So there you go. That's what we got.
That's what we got. This has been Kristin.
And this has been Aaron. And this was the Drive Mode Show.
Thanks for watching.
Subscribe. Hit the button and the bell.
Subscribe. Right there.